Y tenemos que seguir desvelándoles muchos más aspectos de la reacción de los mercados con los planes de Donald Trump. ¿Qué estrategias están adoptando los inversores ante los retos que supone la nueva administración estadounidense? ¿Qué sectores, qué activos se verán beneficiados? ¿Qué rol jugarán los mercados emergentes si el clima inversor en Estados Unidos no es propicio? Vamos a hablar también de mercados emergentes con Mathieu Nègre, gestor de cartera de mercados emergentes globales de Unión de Banca Privada y gestor del fondo Ubam Positive Impact Emerging Equity. Hi Mathieu, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How might the policies of a potential Trump administration influence investing in emerging markets, particularly in relation to trade and foreign aid?
Well, I think in relation to trade, everybody is going to look at tariffs, right? That's a word that Donald Trump likes to throw around, except that we don't know exactly what's going to be done. So it's really the devil is in the detail. He's throwing a lot of big numbers around, but we don't know if that's a tactic for negotiation or if he's actually going to increase tariffs. So you might have seen over the last few weeks, every time we're talking about quick and high tariffs, the dollar is strengthening and emerging markets are suffering. Every time he relaxes a little bit the expectations, emerging markets are doing a little bit better. So the dollar is expensive. We think there's a lot of reserve of value for emerging markets, but of course, we need to know exactly what the Trump administration will do, and for that, we will have to wait a few more months.
Given this perspective, Mathieu, what strategies can impact investors adopt to try to mitigate the potential risks associated with this increased geopolitical tension under the new administration?
Well, there's three things we can say on this. The first thing is this is very different from 2016 because in 2016 Trump was elected against all odds. So nobody was expecting the election and people were caught completely by surprise. This year, I think it's fair to say that there's been, a gradual impression throughout the year that he would win. And so people, everybody was talking about a 50-50 election. People are more prepared already in their strategy. So it's true about the portfolio of the investors. It's also true about the companies themselves who have been taken into account the fact that there could be a Trump administration in the way they think about their future capex, for example. And specifically in emerging markets, for example, you might have seen projects in semiconductors. TSMC is now opening a new plant in Arizona and has delivered the first few products to American companies this week, I believe. And you also have a number of companies who are building sort of industrial facilities or are announcing that they're going to build industrial facilities in North America. And that's a way to sort of appear as a domestic facility when it comes to tariffs, just in the case that Donald Trump would be more difficult with tariffs with products coming from Asia, for example. So I think you want to invest in the companies that invest domestically, and you want to invest in the companies that are not exposed to global trade, particularly with the US, because it's very easy to end up on a tariff list or a sanction list, and that's a risk that equity investors wants to avoid. There was a big index component, for example, Tencent, who ended up on the list of entities sort of monitored by the US Army at the beginning of this year. This has a big impact on the stock, and that's the kind of risk that investors need to be aware. So avoid the headline risk and favor companies who invest domestically.
Intelligence, artificial intelligence. Mathieu, how could the rapid development of AI with its rising energy demands reshape, remodel the priorities and opportunities for impact investing in emerging markets?
So that's a key question because everybody was drawing net zero plans, assuming a sort of gentle increase in electricity demand or maybe a slight decrease in energy demand. And AI is changing that completely. If you look at a company like Microsoft, they had to completely redraw their climate plans because of the power demand generated by AI. So it's going to concern everybody, not particularly emerging markets, but really all markets around the world. And for that, I think the key change for investors is that energy efficiency is now the most important keyword in the way we invest. And we already saw it last year, and I think it's going to continue to be a theme for 2025. Energy efficiency is really the way to address the increase in energy demand.
Considering all this, what specific sectors in emerging markets are likely to attract more impact investment in 2025, considering global technology advancements and political shifts?
Yeah, so the first one, I already said it, it's energy efficiency. I think everything that's related to the energy grid, the electricity grid, and any increased energy infrastructure, sorry, electricity infrastructure investments will continue to be very hot because of AI, okay? And then I'm going to give you maybe less expected possible investments. The second thing is that while we're talking about this, the demographics of emerging markets continue to be very favorable, and there will be a continuing need in investments in health and education that we think will do well through the cycle, including 2025. And the last one that I would say is that, you know, everybody think they know that interest rates are going to be higher for 2025, but we can't exclude really a disappointment on growth or maybe a favorable surprise on inflation. And if that was to happen, it would be extremely against the consensus and something that would favor financials. And so financials within emerging markets have been quite weak towards the end of the year because of Trump, because of the strong dollar. But if that was to reverse, we think there would be an interesting bounce to be captured by investors. It's not for now, though. It's probably more for Q2 of the second part of the year. But it's something to watch for people who look at currencies, for example.
And the last, shortly, what role can renewable energy projects play in balancing the environment impact of AI and supporting sustainable growth in these regions?
So I think a lot of investments have been made. The share of renewable will continue to increase. That is true everywhere. If anything, the commitment to renewable energy has receded a little bit in the US with the drill, baby drill type of slogan. Maybe it's stabilized in Europe, but Europe is still very much interested in renewable energy. In sort of emerging markets, the momentum arrived later, but it's stronger. So I believe it will completely continue. The problem with AI is that we need to do even more, and for that we're gonna meet capacity constraints. So some people have, for example, mentioned the fact that there's a change in consensus in the nuclear energy because people can now see what it can bring to the energy mix. But if AI really fulfills the dream that we expect that it can fulfill, then we will need every single source of renewable or low carbon energy to function at its maximum. And of course, that includes all sorts of renewable.
Frank, baby Frank. Mathieu Nègre, gestor de cartera de mercados emergentes globales de Unión de Banca Privada. Thank you for your vision in Negocios TV.
Thank you.